Hello and welcome to Learn Family University's course, Student Wellbeing and Successful Online Learning. This is the third of 9 videos that will be released from December 11th, 2020 to January 22nd, 2021. I'm your presenter today. I'm Pamela Santerra, the coordinator of online learning for Learn. My contact information is on the screen. Please send me an email or give me a phone call. I'm happy to help your child and you be successful with online learning in any way that I can. During this course, you will learn about the principles of well-being that you can use to support the development of your child's social and emotional learning skills, including the ability to navigate social interactions and build friendships. These are concepts that parents, students, and teachers have found useful on the journey to ensure learning happens away from the place called school. Having said that, you know your child best. It's not worth a dramatic battle to implement all of these recommendations. We care that your child wants to learn and knows how to learn way more than we care if your child complies with the general ideas collected from others. This module is called The Power of Dignity. Dignity is the belief that we all have inherent worth. When it is the foundation of our relationships, it is transformative because we feel recognized, acknowledged, included, and safe, and we seek to affirm those feelings in others. Dignity is the inherent worth and value of every human. Everyone has it, and everyone has the same amount. The desire for dignity is powerful and universal. It is a motivating force behind all human interaction, in families, in schools, in communities, in the business world, and in relationships at the international level. When dignity is violated, the response is likely to involve aggression, violence, hatred, and vengeance. On the other hand, when people treat one another with dignity, they become more connected and are able to create more meaningful relationships. Schools are among the most socializing places in our society and ought to be a place where every child's dignity is upheld. Schools, like society, can be places where diverse views are heard and experienced. Knowing how to deal with such diversity and being able to hold and understand counterviews is key for advancing a civil society. An aim that we imagine parents share with educators is empowering children to overcome any oppressive conditions that can strip human dignity and teach them to see dialogue as the starting point of valuing one and one another's viewpoints. Many teachers work very hard to model these values in schools, and when parents work alongside educators to impart these values, young people feel safer because they can see their villages address conflict productively and see the benefit of coming together to solve problems. Dr. Donna Hicks draws upon her extensive experience in international conflict resolution, along with insights from evolutionary biology, psychology, and neuroscience to explain the elements of dignity, how to respond when we are not treated with dignity, and how dignity can restore a broken relationship. According to Dr. Hicks, in a perfect world, parents would be educated in all matters relating to dignity. Having an awareness of the importance of treating yourself and others well and modeling it for your child only reinforces what she or he is learning in school. If parents have not been exposed to dignity education, learning it together can be a good way to start practicing dignity skills at home with the family. We're going to stop here and watch a short video for an introduction to dignity from Dr. Hicks.
So what I'd like to begin with is sharing with you my understanding of what dignity means. I've really worked a lot on this, and it took me a while to come to an understanding of what it is. And after researching it for such a long time, I finally came to the conclusion that it's a very simple concept. And we don't want to complicate it either, because the simpler the better, and everybody will understand what dignity means if the concept is simple. And so my understanding is that dignity is our inherent value and worth. Every single one of us, we all have dignity. We're born with it. It's part of who we are as a human being. And we all have inherent value and inherent worth. And in fact, I would even argue that we are not only valuable and worthy, but that we're invaluable, that we're priceless, and that we're irreplaceable. So my definition is really very simple, that our dignity is our inherent value and worth. And there's another piece to it, which is our dignity is also very vulnerable, and vulnerable to being harmed and injured. So yes, we have an inherent value and worth, but at the same time, it is so prone to being injured and wounded. And frankly, I think that's probably as equally as an important part of the definition as, you know, the first part of the equation. So another aspect of the definition, and really I think is important to clarify, is that I think dignity is very different from respect. I often, whenever I give a talk, I'll ask people just to tell me, what do you think dignity is? I just take ideas from the audience. And inevitably, the first thing people say is respect. And oddly enough, if you pay attention to when you hear the word dignity, you'll hear it as if it's all one word, dignity and respect. This is just what people do, and they confuse it, and it's a problem because, as I said earlier, I think our dignity is, everybody has dignity. Every human being who's born on the planet has dignity, but with respect, I think respect is earned. So when you confuse those two things, especially in my field in international conflict, where people are clamoring, we want to be treated with respect. We must be treated with respect. But I think what they really want to say is, treat me with dignity. Treat me as a human being. Because, if you're in a conflict and you don't respect the other side, then you're going to have trouble getting that out of your opponent or your enemy. But if we make the claim that everybody deserves dignity, and what needs to happen here as part of the resolution process of these conflicts is to try to restore the dignity to the relationship, that's very different from demanding respect from people.
To begin with, conflicts arise when people violate each other's dignity. Our instincts don't know the difference between a physical threat and a psychological one. Violations to our dignity feel like a threat to our survival. When we feel hurt, our brains leap into self-preservation mode. In that moment, we don't care about others and we don't care about our relationships. We only care about feeling safe. Dignity equals vulnerability. We often fail to recognize how vulnerable all are being to treated as if they don't matter. We are psychologically programmed to believe that our survival depends on acceptance, and we can't help but react to being mistreated. Dignity equals metacognition. We all matter the same amount. Even in conflicts or hard moments, other people matter as much as we do. This means we have to stop and think about our feelings and actions and how they impact others. Dignity equals awareness. We are all born with dignity, but we aren't born knowing how to act in ways that honor everyone's dignity. We all have a hardwired impulse not to be seen as the one in the wrong. We all have an equally strong desire to want to save face when we've done wrong. It takes work to shift the way we think about our actions. The 10 elements of dignity, developed by Dr. Donna Hicks, are helpful in identifying and naming the ways one experiences a violation. They're also helpful in recognizing the ways that we violate others. Taking responsibility for the harm we or our young people have done as the first step to resolving a conflict. Having a process where both people in the conflict have an opportunity to discuss their dignity violations and take responsibility for what they have done is essential to healing a broken relationship. First is acceptance of identity. Approach people as neither inferior nor superior to you. Give others the freedom to express their authentic selves without fear of being negatively judged. Interact without prejudice or bias. Accept how race, religion, gender, class, sexual orientation, age, disability, etc. are at the core of their identities. Assume that they have integrity. Secondly is recognition. Validate others for their talents, their hard work, their thoughtfulness, and their help. Be generous with praise. Give credit to others for their contributions, their ideas, and their experiences. Third, acknowledgement. Give people your full attention by listening, hearing, validating, and responding to their concerns and what they've been through. Fourth is inclusion. Make others feel that they belong at all levels of a relationship. That includes your family, community, organization, and the nation. Fifth, safety. Put people at ease at two levels. Physically, where they feel free from bodily harm, and psychologically, where they feel free of concern about being shamed or humiliated, and that they feel free to speak without fear of retribution. Sixth, fairness. Treat people justly, with equality, and in an even-handed way, according to the agreed-upon laws and rules. 7, independence. Empower people to act on their own behalf so that they feel in control of their lives and experience a sense of hope and possibility. 8, understanding. Believe that what others think matters. Give them the chance to explain their perspectives, express their points of view, and actively listen in order to understand them. 9, benefit of the doubt. Treat people as trustworthy. Start with the premise that others have good motives and they're acting with integrity. And finally, accountability. Take responsibility for your actions. If you violated the dignity of another, apologize. Make a commitment to change hurtful behaviors. So take a moment right now and think about those 10 elements of dignity. Which matter the most to you? Which ones are you not getting in your life? And how is that impacting you? And which ones do you want to focus on showing other people?
We all want a world where everyone is treated with respect, but sometimes it seems in pretty short supply. And the notion of giving respect is often a flashpoint between young people and adults. We've probably all experienced moments of frustration when we feel we deserve respect and have not been given it, or been told to show respect to someone we don't actually respect because of how they behave. Could our interpretation of respect be the problem? Respect comes from the Latin respectus, which means looking back at with admiration. Respect is earned through actions we admire, not just because of someone's position. Young people are often forced to show respect to people they feel haven't earned it, specifically because they treat people badly, while adults feel it should be given no matter what. How do we bridge this gap? The answer is dignity, from the Latin dignitas, meaning to be worthy. While respect is earned, dignity is a given. It is an absolute. We all have the same worth, whatever our age, social status, or accomplishments. When we remember this, there's no conflict in treating someone with their rightful human dignity, even when you don't agree with their actions. Young people are living in a storm of disrespect. By recognizing that everyone has inherent dignity, we can unlock the door to more positive communication and equitable relationships. Dignity gives us calm in the storm of disrespect.
So we all grew up hearing that we should respect our elders. It's a core value that unites across ethnicities, religions, countries, and class. But rarely do we hear about dignity, the essential worth and value of every human being. And meanwhile, we seem to have lost a meaningful definition of respect. Adults often feel that young people aren't showing them the respect that they believe they deserve. And many young people feel that adults need to earn that respect. So why does it seem that we have lost basic respect for each other? And how do we get it back? The answer is right in front of us. Rosalind Wiseman asked young people what comes to mind when they hear the word respect. These are a few common responses. Respect is supposed to be earned, but it's usually imposed. I have to obey them no matter how they treat me. If they don't respect me, then I don't have to respect them. Respect is admiration for someone's actions, their traits, or their accomplishments. It's earned or lost through a person's actions and behaviors. But the word respect is often used to force someone to comply or obey when they have more authority. Even more complicated is that young people often have negative associations with respect. Because in our culture, respect is often about having power. Who has it and who doesn't? Young people can perceive respect as demanding their unconditional obedience and being forced to show respect to someone who is taking away the dignity of someone else. Without taking away the importance of respecting elders, when this happens in school, a family, a young person disengages. From the playground to our locker rooms, our workplaces, our faith communities, and the halls of government, young people have good reason for their skepticism and their reluctance to come forward and report wrongdoing. As long as we tell young people to respect others who are abusing power, they will be anxious, resentful, and doubt the purpose of speaking out when they see something wrong. The constant parade of elders who abuse their position of authority and then demand respect weighs on the hearts and minds of our young people. When we don't admit what young people see, we often appear to accept the hypocrisy, and we're helpless to stop it. It doesn't matter if you're 5, 12, 27, 67, 80 years old. We all know the feeling of being forced to respect someone, and it makes us feel angry, confused, and powerless. None of this is an excuse for young people to treat adults badly. But if we want young people to truly respect us, we need to get clear about what that word means and shine a light on the power of dignity to guide our interactions with each other. Let's use the word dignity instead. Dignity, the belief that all humans have an equal worth and value, is the foundation of our work. Everyone has dignity. Everyone has the same amount. It cannot be earned or lost. Dignity is a given. It's an absolute. It's a non-negotiable right. It may seem simple that everyone has essential value. However, the practice of dignity to guide our interactions with each other is actually a radical shift. And while we are all born with dignity, we are not born knowing how to act in ways that honor everyone's dignity, including our own. Take a moment to remember an adult you respected when you were growing up. Your answer is most likely based on how that person treated you and others, not how successful or powerful they were. You respected them because they were treating you or others with dignity. Using dignity instead of respect gives us a new way to interact with each other, a way where we can recognize the person's essential worth apart from their actions. This is where we get our courage to stand up for ourselves and have the tough conversations we so often shy away from. While in distance learning, we want students to feel as comfortable as they can to raise questions, share concerns, and advocate for themselves. If dignity isn't present and a part of their language, it's harder for them to do these things when there are inevitable negative interactions with people at school. Take this example. Imagine a 10-year-old child asking a teacher for help because another child is being mean to them. Or imagine a 16-year-old in a large online class who repeatedly raises his hand to answer a question, only for the teacher to call on the same 5 or 6 students each time. When young people go to an adult for help, the most common advice they receive is usually one of two extremes. In the first example of the child being bullied, the child might hear from the adult, "Don't let it bother you. Be the better person. Tell them to stop." While the other extreme is some variation of, "Fight back. Don't ever start a fight, but always finish it." In the second example, you might have a parent who says, "You don't have to like it, but you have to respect your teacher." Or the opposite, when that parent of that unheard student writes a threatening email to that teacher and the principal. Although often well-meaning, these responses aren't usually that helpful. Blanket statements don't give an action plan that effectively address the problem. And in the case of the parental intervention, young people often feel like they're making the problem worse and will be reluctant to tell their parents about problems they experience. So let's think about dignity and frame a response. So imagine that you as the parent uses dignity to frame your response by saying something like, "I'm sorry that happened, and thank you for telling me. Let's work together so that you have some control in the situation and do it in a way that upholds your dignity." This response validates the young person's experience and gives them a path forward to stand up for themselves. It gives them a process where they will develop self-respect because they handle the situation with courage and integrity. So take action. Think for a moment. What adult in your young life did you respect? How did that make you feel? Holding that person's image in your mind, answer the following questions. When you think of them, what feelings come up? Why did you respect them? What stories come to mind? If you answered, because of how they made me or others feel, you probably respected that person because they treated you with dignity. Even if they were hard on you, they made you feel that you mattered, that you were just as significant, valued, and worthwhile as everyone else, even if you didn't feel that way about yourself at the time. It's also fascinating to consider that the teachers that have had the most profound impact on you when you were at school, when you reflect on the reasons, it usually comes down to two. Either A, the teacher cared enough to encourage your passion, or B, the teacher saw something in you that you didn't see in yourself. These qualities of sharing passion and upscaling expectations are attributes that we trust parents also exhibit with their children. And it's well worth recalling when times get tough during out-of-class distance learning. It's a simple act of dignity to see more in others than they may see in themselves, and to share your passions for learning and problem solving. So here are some key messages. It's imperative to a young person's physical, psychological, and emotional well-being to have a sense of belonging in their community. Respect is a feeling of admiration for someone based on their abilities, their qualities, and their achievements. Respect can be earned and lost. Dignity is recognizing the inherent worth of each of us. Dignity is a given. It can't be earned and it can't be lost. Using the concept of dignity allows us to separate someone's actions and behaviors from their essential worth. You don't have to respect what they did, but you do have to treat them with dignity. When you ground our work, your relationships, your community in the principle of dignity, we can get through tough times. And make it a practice to see more in the other than we may see more in others than they may see in ourselves. And share your passions for learning and problem solving. Putting the principles of dignity into action. Using dignity as a foundation, let's get more concrete with the skills to build the core competencies we all need to strengthen our connection with others. How to listen, ways to value everyone's contribution, strategies to maintain curiosity when we're uncomfortable, and ways to accept help. Principle 1. Listening is being prepared to be changed by what you hear. This doesn't mean you always have to agree, but like anyone, if the young person perceives that your judgments or assumptions stop the ability to exchange ideas, they will shut down. Shutting down will look different based on the child. From the obvious, "I'm not telling you anything about my life," to "I'm fine, don't worry about it," as a way to tell you that they don't want to talk, to merely saying what you, the adult, wants to hear. The ability to listen demonstrates you understand, and again, not necessarily agree with what they said. This is a gift, and it makes it more likely that that young person may come to listen and understand you as well. Right now, young people may be hesitant to share their problems with you because they don't want to worry you and they don't want to add stress to your life. So if they want to talk, it's really time to listen. Despite their outward appearance, managing the transition to school online, giving up their expected routine, and navigating our current landscape of constant change is a lot for young people to manage. It's a lot for you and me as the adults in their life. Lead with the idea that creating space for them to be heard without adult commentary is essential to establishing a healthy distance learning environment and to support your relationship with them. Remember, emotional dysregulation, apathy, antagonism, anxiety, and regressing are all normal behavior responses for children ages 7 to 17 when they are faced with stress. How can you help? Well, start conversations with the simple question: are you looking for advice right now, or are you just looking for me to listen? That will go a long way to support your young person and create positive experiences with distance learning. Principle 2. No one knows everything, but together we know a lot. Right now, we are all on a tremendous learning curve, and we all have valuable lessons to teach each other. It is truly a village moment where we can see the importance of learning and sharing with each other. In education and raising young people, we need to integrate this principle with acknowledging that young people know the most about what it is like to receive distance learning. Yes, adults' wisdom and experiences matter, but we must appreciate and listen to the young people's experiences so that when we do share our wisdom and our insights, it's reflective of the young person's culture. which you have to admit is radically different from the way that we grew up, even before COVID-19. Principle 3, activating curiosity, especially when we are uncomfortable, is the key to learning. Being uncomfortable is normal when you're learning something quickly. Discomfort is the new norm as we are working, parenting, and being in the community during COVID-19. You may have had the experience of being bewildered or frustrated with the young person in your life. From acting out to withdrawing or just doing something that makes no sense to you. Remember, there's always a reason for their actions. You just have to figure out what that reason is by asking curious questions. A curious question communicates that the person asking the question wants to gain greater insight into the other's feelings and experiences. We know it can be challenging at the time, but if you can remember to get curious, you are enabling the dynamic between you and a young person to change towards greater understanding, honesty, and trust. Just a note of caution here. When an adult says, "Why are you being so difficult?" or "What is wrong with you?" that doesn't come across as a curious question. Instead, it comes across as an accusation. But if you activate curiosity and say something like, "I don't know what's going on, but there has to be a good reason why you're acting like this. When you're ready, I'd like to know what it is," you have a better chance that the young person will calm down and believe that they can explain what is going on. The final principle is asking for help is a skill, not a weakness. Many of us were raised to believe that admitting we need help, feeling overwhelmed, or not knowing the answer is something to hide and even be ashamed of. If there was ever a time to realize that we all need to help each other, this is it. It will benefit the young person in your care throughout their life to develop the skills to know when they need help, to identify the person who can help them, and then seek out that help. That ability can be a truly life-saving one, and you can help them. So to summarize, listening is being prepared to be changed by what you hear. No one knows everything, but together we know a lot. Activating curiosity, especially when we're uncomfortable, is a key to learning. And finally, asking for help is a skill, not a weakness. So this is an activity that you can do with your young person. Sit down and write 3 characteristics you need in a person that you would go to for advice. Each of you should make your own list. For example, in my list, that person would be opinionated but not judgmental. They'd be calm and they'd be reliable. So after you both come up with your lists, write down at least 2 people who fit the criteria you each came up with. Then you can show each other what you wrote and create a plan to reach out to those people. It helps if the other person knows who that person is for you, so that when you're in crisis or feeling upset, they might recommend that you go and talk to that person. These are the resources that I used today. And Module 4, Part A is available now, which is about building self-regulation. If you want a deeper dive into these topics, register for our self-paced class. The link below is on the screen. Thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you next time.